Since they began dating 2 years ago, millions of words have been written and spoken about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle.
It was the public outing that every dedicated royal watcher has been waiting for.
Their lives have been analysed, their relationship scrutinised. But while journalists and commentators continue to have their say, two people know the story better than anyone: Harry and Meghan themselves.
Ladies and gentlemen, Meghan Markle.
In this programme, their speeches,
It just wasn't right, and something needed to be done.
their interviews,
So I'd love to have kids right now, but yeah, there's a process that one has to go through.
and home movies.
This is the aftermath of the audition.
Meghan isn't, your typical type of royal bride.
And I am burning up.
She had put so much of herself out there.
This is what I do, duck throw.
All brought together for the first time.
At the end of the day, I'm a human being. I'm just a normal person like these guys are.
Their lives are an open book. And that means we've painted a very quick picture of them together.
This is the story of Harry and Meghan, in their own words.
Thank you so much.
This afternoon, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle stepped hand in hand into the sunken garden at Kensington Palace.
November 27th, 2017, and Harry and Meghan broke the news the world had been waiting for. 17 months after their first meeting, they were in love and about to be married.
It was so sweet and natural and very romantic. He got on one knee. As a matter of fact, I could barely let you finish proposing. I was like, can I say yes now?
She didn't even let me finish. She said, can I say yes, can I say yes now? And then there was hugs, and I had the ring in my finger, and I was like, can I give you the ring? And she goes, oh, yes, the ring.
Although this was the first time they'd spoken as a couple, both had long experience of talking about themselves. Raised worlds apart, they'd chronicled their experiences from childhood. For Meghan, that was spent in Los Angeles, California, where she was born to her white father, Tom, and African-American mother, Doria.
It was the late 70s when my parents met. My dad was a lighting director for a soap opera, and my mom was a temp at the studio. I like to think he was drawn to her sweet eyes and her afro, plus their shared love of antiques. Whatever it was, they married and had me. They moved into a house. What it was not, however, was diverse. And there was my mom, caramel in complexion, with her light-skinned baby in tow, being asked where my mother was, since they assumed she was the nanny.
Nice, huh? You like these ponytails?
With both parents working in the Hollywood entertainment industry, Meghan developed an early love of the stage. She would often visit her father as he worked behind the scenes on a long-running TV sitcom. It was considered so risque, some viewers even organised a boycott.
There was a show called Married with Children. Do you remember that
Seen it,
show?
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So I grew up on the set of Married with Children every day after school for 10 years. I was there.
Wow.
I know. It's a very perverse place for a little girl who went to Catholic school, no less, to grow up.
There were a lot of times my dad would say, Meg, why don't you go and help with the craft services room over there? This is just a little off-color for your eyes. I wasn't allowed to watch it at home. I could watch the end credits, so I could give the screen a kiss when I saw my dad's name go by.
I mean, they seem very close as father-daughter. And, I mean, she was a striking child. She was beautiful. And everyone would comment on how cute she was. But beyond that, and more important than that, was the fact she was just a very nice little girl and very respectful and just really a sweet kid to be around.
Meghan's parents divorced when she was still at primary school. She and her mother Doria lived in a relatively comfortable neighbourhood. But LA at that time was riven by racial tensions, and in April 1992, they boiled over. The acquittal of 4 white policemen filmed beating a black motorist sparked nearly a week of ferocious rioting.
The city pretty much burned in South Los Angeles. Skies were black, ashes everywhere. You didn't know how far they were going to reach, or you didn't think they were going to stop. It was kind of just like being in another world.
The violence claimed 63 lives. 2,000 people were injured and 12,000 arrested. As it spread north towards Meghan's school, the 10-year-old and her mother had to run for shelter.
They had let us go home during the riots, and there was ash everywhere. Oh my God, Mommy, it's snowing. No.
Imagine any parent would want to keep their child inside, because when your city's burning, when you fear for your life, children shouldn't have to experience that.
As Meghan was being raised in LA, Harry was growing up in London and in public. As the youngest son of the world's most famous woman, he was in the media spotlight from day one.
When it comes to dealing with the press, Prince Harry has a style all of his own.
But despite the constant presence of the cameras, Princess Diana was determined to surround Harry and his older brother William with laughter and fun.
Our mother was a total kid through and through. When everybody says to me, so she was fun, give us an example, all I can hear is her laugh in my head. And that sort of crazy laugh of where there was just pure happiness shown on her face.
When you look at Prince Harry as a child, there was always a sense that he was a lot more mischievous than his older brother, perhaps because he knew that he didn't have as much responsibility on his shoulders.
One of her mottos to me was, you can be as naughty as you want, just don't get caught. She was one of the naughtiest parents. She would come and watch us play football and smuggle sweets into our socks. And I mean, like literally walking back from a football match and having sort of 5 packets of Starburst, and just the whole shirt was just bulging with sweets.
I think that very much appealed to Prince Harry's character and sense of humour, this idea that he could be a bit of a royal rebel like his mum and still get away with it.
As part of his privileged upbringing, Harry was sent to Wetherby School in London's Notting Hill, where fees are more than £7,000 per term. At the same time, Meghan, 3 years his senior, was a pupil at Los Angeles' Little Red Schoolhouse. With its strong academic and artistic reputation, it was a favourite for Hollywood families. But some of the city's most deprived areas were just a short drive away, areas she'd frequently visit along with both her parents.
My mom and dad came from little, so they made a choice to give a lot. Buying turkeys for homeless shelters at Thanksgiving, delivering meals to patients in hospice care, donating any spare change in their pockets to those asking for it. This is what I grew up seeing, so that is what I grew up being. A young adult with a social consciousness to do what I could, and to, at the very least, speak up when I knew something was wrong.
In character was only just forming, but it would soon propel her onto the national stage. In 1993, the young schoolgirl took on a powerful multinational corporation, taking her complaint all the way to the White House.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Meghan Markle.
As a successful actress, Meghan has used her profile to champion a range of different causes.
Well, good evening. That doesn't feel like enough.
But her campaigning efforts began long before she found fame.
The fact that Meghan is interested in these causes, that's not new. It's not something that she's taken up after a life of celebrity, that she's suddenly found out that she needs to help people. It really started from the very beginning when she was just a little girl. There is a story about how she was very proactive in protesting about an advertisement that she felt was very denigrating to women.
The gloves are coming off. Women are fighting greasy pots and pans with Ivory Clear.
The tagline said, "Women all over America are fighting greasy pots and pans 2 boys from my class said, "Yeah, that's where women belong, in the kitchen." I remember feeling shocked and angry and also just feeling so hurt. It just wasn't right, and something needed to be done.
My name is Meghan Markle. I'm 12 years old. Last week at my school, we decided to watch the news for social studies. While flipping through the channels, we saw a commercial for the new Ivory Clear dishwashing liquid. In the commercial, they said women are battling grease, meaning only women do dishes. When I heard this, the boys in
Meghan wrote to Procter & Gamble, the company behind the ad, to America's then First Lady Hillary Clinton, and to the US TV program Nick News, which sent a reporter to interview her.
I don't think it's right for kids to grow up thinking these things, that just mom does everything. So I was wondering if you would be able to change your commercial to people all over America. Thank you, Meghan Markle.
Incredibly, the 12-year-old's lobbying campaign worked.
And it was roughly a month later when the soap manufacturer, Procter & Gamble, changed the commercial.
The gloves are coming off. People are fighting greasy pots and pans with Ivory Clear.
She had a sense that she could affect change, even though she was just one small person. She had a voice.
If you see something that you don't like or are offended by on television, make a difference for not just yourself, but lots of other people. Makes me feel...
Meghan's time in the spotlight lasted for just a few days in 1993. But by then, Harry was used to relentless media attention. Soon it would become uncomfortable, both for him and his elder brother William. The reason? Their mother's very public and very bitter split from Prince Charles.
It must be pretty tough when one day your father says it's all over, and you've got to split your time between here or with your mother. When he was the youngest, he must have seen the arguments and the rows together they'd had, and it had an effect on him.
Charles and Diana officially divorced in 1996. In August 1997, she went on holiday with her new boyfriend, Dodi Fayed. Pursued by the paparazzi through the streets of Paris, their chauffeur-driven car crashed in a city centre tunnel. 3 people were killed, including Diana.
My mother had just died, and I had to walk a long way behind her coffin, surrounded by thousands of people watching me while millions more did on television.
I think everybody who witnessed the funeral and that young child walking behind his mother's coffin reflected on it and thought, goodness me, what effect is this going to have on this boy's life growing up?
I don't think any child should be asked to do that, under any circumstances. I don't think it would happen today.
Well, we now know, actually, the true effect that Diana's death had on both Harry and William. Prince Harry spoke extremely openly about the fact that that had a profound effect, that he completely went off the rails, he couldn't cope with it.
I can safely say that losing my mum at the age of 12 and therefore shutting down all of my emotions for the last 20 years has had a quite serious effect on not only my personal life but also my work as well. My way of dealing with it was, sticking my head in the sand, refusing to ever think about my mum, because why would that help? It's only going to make you sad, it's not going to bring her back. So from an emotional side, I was like, right, don't ever let your emotions be part of anything.
Obviously, you know, he speaks from the heart. I mean, Diana was a super mother, and to lose that person such a young age must have been terrible for him, and he said that. How much he misses her, how much he thinks of her every day. Not a day goes by he doesn't think about it.
Been very close to a complete breakdown on numerous occasions when all sorts of grief and sort of lies and misconceptions and everything's coming at you from every angle.
Diana's funeral was watched by an estimated 2.5 billion people around the world. Among them, 16-year-old Meghan Markle. By then, she was a student at the all-girl Immaculate Heart High School in Los Angeles Here, just 2 miles from Hollywood, her acting ambitions were taking shape.
Long before I taught Meghan, I saw her in the school plays. And she was one of those girls, when she was on stage, you were drawn to watch her because she just had this charisma and this. We have a musical and a play every year. And she's certainly one of the many shining lights that we have here at Immaculate Heart.
Meghan's stage talents led her to enroll on a university course in theatre. Before joining, she auditioned for roles in music videos.
After the aftermath of
this is the aftermath of the audition, and it went pretty well. We just had to dance crazily, and so I did, and it was tired. Just all danced like wild women, and I was shaking my hair around, and so that's that, and I am burning up.
The Los Angeles of 1998 had recovered from the riots of 7 years earlier, but racial prejudice remained. Surface, as Meghan was soon to witness firsthand.
I was home in LA on a college break when my mom was called the N-word. We were leaving a concert and she wasn't pulling out of a parking space quickly enough for another driver. My skin rushed with heat, a whisper of words so hushed they were barely audible. "It's okay, Mommy." I was trying to temper the rage-filled air permeating our small silver Volvo.
This is something that has happened for people of color since we've been brought to this country some 400 years ago. It's unfortunate because racism hurts. You know, just to talk about it, it hurts. And kids don't need to hurt. They shouldn't have to.
I shared my mom's heartache, but I wanted us to be safe. We drove home in deafening silence, her chocolate knuckles pale from gripping the wheel so tightly.
When Meghan returned to her university near Chicago, she showed huge promise on stage, starring in a number of student movies. But soon the undergraduate was keen to spread her wings and take on other subjects.
I had always been the theater nerd at Northwestern University. I knew I wanted to do acting, but I hated the idea of being this cliché, a girl from LA who decides to be an actress. I wanted more than that. And I'd always loved politics, so I ended up changing my major completely and double majoring in theater and international relations.
As part of her degree, Meghan won an internship at the US Embassy in Argentina. In 2002, the country was in financial crisis. Meghan was sent to greet a top White House official, whose car was then surrounded by placard-waving demonstrators.
It was their economic devaluation, and our Secretary of the Treasury at the time was there. So I'm 20 years old, in Buenos Aires, in a motorcade, doing that whole thing. I thought for sure I would still have a career in politics. And then I came back to LA for Christmas, and a friend of mine from college introduced me to this manager.
The manager had watched one of Meghan's student films and said he could find her cinema and TV work in return for a 10% cut of her earnings. But, as she was soon to discover, the competition for roles was fierce.
A young actor, actress trying to break into the business, it is not easy.
My parents had been so supportive, watching me audition, trying to make ends meet. taking all the odds and ends jobs to pay my bills. I was doing calligraphy, and I was a hostess at a restaurant, and all those things that actors do.
There's so many people out here who want to get into the entertainment industry. It's difficult.
I had a beat-up Ford Explorer Sport that rattled like a steamboat engine in the morning. Audition to audition, just as I was.
I mean, you really have to be very self-promoting, and you have to be willing to, knock on doors and be very motivated and have good self-esteem, because you could get eaten alive out here.
I would drive to auditions and park at the back of the parking lot, far from the eyes of anyone who could see me unlocking the trunk and crawling into my car through its only feasible entry point. I would play it off, obviously, as though I was looking for something, reaching so deep for something that my car
Nice, huh? You like big ponytails?
With both parents working in the Hollywood entertainment industry, Meghan developed an early love of the stage. She would often visit her father as he worked behind the scenes on a long-running TV sitcom. It was considered so risque, some viewers even organised a boycott.
There was a show called Married with Children. Do you remember that show?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So I grew up on the set of Married with Children every day after school for 10 years. I was there.
Wow.
I know. It's a very perverse place for a little girl who went to Catholic school, no less, to grow up.
There were a lot of times my dad would say, Meg, why don't you go and help with the craft services room over there? This is just a little off color for your eyes. I wasn't allowed to watch it at home. I could watch the end credits,